wanna live a life.
That guy did. Oh my god! Surprise, motherfucker! What? Oh my god, you're fucking crazy!
What is up, you Smexian individuals? My name is Burgerman778 and welcome to another thematic build video. Today, we're going to be talking about our new Amara build called Sorcerer Supreme Amara. So you might be wondering why we're calling this our Sorcerer Supreme Amara. Well, kind of keeping up with the one theme for all our characters and trying to make a certain character out of each and every one of them. We are kind of going with the superhero theme with this one. So I already did the Hellboy Flak, I did the Cosmic Ghost Rider Mose. We're doing the Sorcerer Supreme Amara, and we should be having a one for Zane here soon. But until then, let's kind of go down exactly everything with this build. In regards to gear, we're going to be kind of running a lot of Malawan elemental stuff, with it being the Sorcerer Supreme, has the mystic arts and all that. So I figured going to the elements and kind of doing some a little bit wackier weapons in a way would be pretty beneficial. All the weapons that we're going to be using are going to be from DLC 3, so make sure you have that Bounty of Blood DLC to get these. We are first off using a beacon with action skill and splash damage, rad and cryo, a flipper with action skill and next two mags do rad, fire rad, a consecutive hits flipper with fire and shock, and then a phase cast weapon damage increased light show with corrosive. Now, why do we use these weapons specifically? Well, first off, when it comes to any enemy that has a lot of armor that you're having to kind of like strip them down a lot, the light show is going to be your best bet, especially whenever you're using phase cast, which you're able to activate a lot. You're constantly keeping that damage on that gun up at 250%. So during fights with like Wotan that I was doing here in this video, you're going to be seeing me essentially melting him pretty well, especially the top half. It really didn't take that long to get him, because the survivability of the build sometimes you get knocked, but you're usually able to keep yourself up most of the time, and half the time it's easy to just get those revives off of killing an enemy. In regards to our flippers, I use a consecutive hits one, essentially drop shields, or against maybe a buffier enemy that might have just flesh, so we'll just change it over to the fire. If it's nothing but shield, we'll change it over to the shock. You can see during this fight that whenever we go against Trant, we're going to be using this flipper, and it does really well. This other flipper with the action skill and rad damage, I like this one a lot because this is our general mobbing weapon most of the time. Even against armored weapon enemies, against guardians, stuff like that, this tends to really smack them, just because of that combination between keeping it on fire and then getting those extra rad magazines. And then the beacon as well being just a really good mobbing weapon, just because extra splash damage it's doing to all the enemies around it. I've been really enjoying all the new weapons that they introduced in DLC 3, so kind of having a build that really incorporates the probably the best of the best, in my opinion, is really awesome. Now, in regards to our gear, we're going to be, I completely fucked that up. All right, just cut that, and then we'll go into in regards to the gear afterward, because I realized I had the wrong one on. Teehee. In regards to our gear, we're going to be using a transformer with action skill and bonus incendiary damage. This one's pretty beneficial just for you're constantly activating your phase cast. That's action skill end right there, so you're getting that extra incendiary damage on all your weapons. We're using a phase Zerker with pistol damage, action skill damage, and Malawan weapon damage. I really like this one because we're able to take advantage of those stacks of rush really well. And also, I mean, we're running two pistols on this build. One of them being Malawan, so it's getting the beacon's getting extra buff, as well as our action skill just doing more damage. So whenever you hit enemies with the face cast, it's gonna smack them. And throughout this build, whenever enemies are kind of a little bit like half health or something like that, especially on flesh, I'm definitely shooting my my face cast at them to try to make that chain explosion, and try just to knock the enemies as much as I can. We're also using a recurring hex with action skill and bonus rad damage. I think this is super beneficial just because more elements added on is better in my opinion. and also it's helpful just for kind of whittling down shields throughout a big mobbing fight. And then Elemental Projector Victory Rush, just adding more to elemental damage. The Victory Rush part, we get that extra damage against Badass, and the movement speed and damage increase for 60 seconds is super beneficial. So in regards to our skill tree, this was something that I kind of had to mess around with a lot. I wanted Blue Tree to be obviously the main focal point. We wanted to have these do no harm, stacks of rush. We wanted 1 point into Tapestry just to take advantage of that a little bit as well. But I really wanted to make sure I got down to Remnant and Awakening just because we could take more advantage of that. And also going down to Avatar so we get that extra stack of an action skill phase cast. I think with this build, we're trying to mimic that kind of spellbound blast that Doctor Strange or another Sorcerer Supreme would do. And obviously the face cast Amara does really well with that. As you can see throughout this video, you're going to be seeing a lot of good damage that we're doing with our phase cast with the extra elemental damage as well. Kind of speaking of elemental damage, we want to make sure we went to Soul Fire because I wanted the face cast itself to be fire. I wanted to be able to hit flesh on an enemy and it essentially just nuke them instantly. We put 5 points into Anima just so we get that extra status effect, action skill status effect, and then a couple points in Tempest just to increase that elemental damage and making sure that shock is a little bit more beneficial. I'm wanting that for especially like whenever you see me fight the Valkyries. I really want to be able to whittle down their shields a little bit faster just because we're not able to get down to sustainment with this build just because of the other things that we add to it. So making sure that we're just getting enemies weakened and lowered as fast as humanly possible is really beneficial. And then in the green skill tree, a couple on the Route to Rise. We actually only have 2 points in the Clarity just because our class mod adds into that. Samsara, it's a huge one. We want to make as many stacks as humanly possible just throughout the build. But a big thing I want to do unto others and Guardian Angel. Why Guardian Angel? Just because it's always going to help you up. And I always feel like whenever I watch like a Doctor Strange like movie or read a comic and stuff like that, he's always got something that's kind of pulling him from behind, helping him out. So Guardian Angel, always helpful. And then do unto others. The fact that the hands behind Amara are throwing orbs out and stuff, I thought was awesome. If you guys have seen Avengers Infinity War, there's a scene where Doctor Strange clones himself in a bunch of spots, but right when he does it, he kind of has this look that Amara has now with like the arms behind him. So having those arms like throw fireballs and stuff like that, I thought was super awesome. And it's actually really helpful throughout the fight, just weakening down enemies that you're not really looking at, and essentially just making sure everyone's kind of constantly losing health so that you're staying up in health. And in regards to our action skill augments, we added on Soul Sap just because I wanted to get that extra health, just because we're not able to go down to sustainment, and some of these abilities over here might not keep us up enough on their own. So kind of having that extra help just from anywhere is always beneficial. In regards to our Mayhem modifiers, this tends to constantly be that thing where you're essentially trying to figure out what's best for you. For me, Speed Demon, Healy Avenger is always beneficial. Pool Party, I really don't notice it a whole lot with this build. So it was something that I was willing to put in just because I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. And it hasn't been a big deal for me, but I'd probably say Drone Ranger is a little bit better just because you get that extra item to get yourself picked up from on Fight for Your Life. And then Buddy System, obviously, drones go around making enemies invulnerable. It's a good way to get yourself pulled up from a Fight for Your Life. So as you can see us going through all these different fights, fighting Gigamind, fighting Tron, fighting through the Malawan takedown. Mobs are always great because it's extra chaining. I notice a lot of explosions pretty consistently with this build. I'm not an Amara whiz. I don't know all the stuff super well. So reasonings for stuff happening are just great coincidence for me more than anything. But I've actually having a whole lot of fun with this build just because I've always wanted to kind of have a phase cast build. I've just never seen the viability of it, and kind of having some weapons that I feel like really complement the build well is always awesome. So doing this one was pretty neat. Hopefully soon we're able to get out our superhero version of Zane. I'm thinking possibly we're going to be doing a Mr. Freeze Zane. Just gonna kind of see how that works out. We're still working on it, but we're actually going to be having our next My Hero Academia themed build coming out here soon. We've already done one for Zane. We've already done one for Amara. This one's going to be for Mose. I'll give you a hint. It's going to be called the Endeavor and Shoto Mose. I'm pretty excited for it. I actually was messing with it last night, having a whole lot of fun. So I'm excited for this video to come out. But guys, make sure you're staying up to date on my Twitch stream, twitch.tv/birdman778. I stream Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays starting at 9 p.m. Eastern. I have some other streams sprinkled in between there, so make sure you check out my social medias, twitter.com/birdman778, instagram.com/birdmangram, and then obviously here on YouTube, youtube.com/birdman778. Make sure to subscribe, give a thumbs up on the video. Let me know what is your favorite comic right now. I'm trying to figure out just some new things for me to read myself. I mean, I think I'm a jack of all trades, but especially when it comes to comics and anime and stuff, I'm a huge nerd. So let me know what would be some good ideas. But until next time, guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and make sure you're staying smexy.